This is Mike, NoStressMike.com, talking about toxins coming into the body. And the way we're going to talk about it now is through your diet, in the way of eating the food that you're eating. Okay, we're going to start from the very first. Before you even put the food into your mouth, you're going to have saliva will be coming out. And that's because when you smell the food, then your mouth starts watering. It starts getting the lubrication, starts getting ready. And now that's why when I tell people when they brush their teeth, they brush their whole mouth. Because these saliva glands have little openings all over your mouth. And so you brush everything that your toothbrush can reach. The side of your mouth, top of your mouth, anything you can, your tongue, everything. And all this does is it cleans out those little, in case there's food particles in those ductwork, you'll clean that all out so you can get all the saliva, because you need the saliva to lubricate. Okay, so you put the food in your mouth, and as you chew, it's lubricated by the saliva, and you're chewing, you're breaking it up. You're breaking the juice type material out of the food, and so you're tearing it apart, you're breaking it up, and then when you swallow, it's this food is mixed with the saliva and the mucus in your throat, and this goes down on down to your stomach, and in which now there's going to be bile and all different kinds of other, you have the stomach acid, and you have all these other materials that are coming in there. And they're all in there, and they're all going to help break down the food so you can get the nutritional value out of the food. It's got to be broke down. So that's why you don't take big chunks of food and just swallow them down. It's got to be broke down. And now, while it's in your stomach, your spleen, pancreas, I mean, all kinds of stuff is working to start breaking that food down. And your stomach is turning the food, and it's just turning it, kind of like a cement mixer. And it's mixing all this stuff up, and it takes, let's say 2 to 3 hours for it to do like that. And and then at the end of the cycle of turning it and getting it all ready, then it goes on and starts putting it into the small intestines. And then the small intestine is where the body pulls the nutrients out of the food. So that's the reason why I tell people when you eat, you wait 4 hours before you eat anything else. After you eat, all you do is drink water only, because when you're drinking water only, water is easily digestible, and it just goes right along, no problem. Okay, now if let's say you eat and then 2 hours later you say, well, I just want to have a little snack. Okay, the food in your stomach has already been being processed for 2 hours. Now when you eat something, now it's going to be thrown into the mix, and it will not be ready for digestion. But when it's time, like I say, 3 hours, it's time for it to move into the small intestine. Now it's going to take that piece of pie or apple or whatever it is that you threw in 2 hours later. That's going to be mixed in and dumped into the small intestine. It will not be ready, or the small intestine will not be able to pull the nutrients out of that. What that's going to be is garbage. It is not processed food. It is garbage that is going in to the small intestine. And that is, what garbage is? Toxins. So now you just brought in toxins into your intestines. Okay, now also, as it's going through, I think it takes about maybe 6 or 7 minutes. It's kind of like a snake. your small intestine like that. And it's working, it's a paste is what it is. After about 3 hours, it turns the food into a kind of a paste. And it runs this paste through about every 6 or 7 minutes. It'll go like a snake and it'll move it right on down as it's pulling the nutrients out. And it's kind of like little hairy like things in the intestine there that's pulling out the what you call it, the nutrients. It's pulling it out through that after it's been broke down. Okay, and you should be and see, it's the moisture in there that helps it move on down. That's why certain foods don't digest properly. An example would be beef. Beef doesn't have that much fluid in it, so it doesn't break down really well. Maybe a hamburger might be a different thing. I'm not quite sure on that, but it's things like that that you need to watch for. Yeah, dairy type products don't digest properly. A good example would be if you know somebody with ulcers, when they drink a glass of milk, it calms their stomach. Okay, what that milk is doing is coating the stomach. Okay, well, and then when it coats, and because it's sore on the walls of the stomach, and it coats it, and that's why it gives you some relief. Okay, for one thing, it's coating. Okay, if it's going to coat the walls of your stomach, it's also going to coat other foods. So the food you eat will be coated. In other words, it'll be hard to pull the nutrients out of that type of food. And then once it goes into the intestines, that same thing. That dairy's product will coat the intestines. Remember, I talked about the little hairs that are pulling the nutrients out. Well, those are going to get the dairy type stuff on there, and it'll coat it, and now they won't be able to pull the nutrients out. So that's another reason why dairy doesn't digest properly. We're not even talking about the oil or grease that's in dairy. Dairy, and I think that's what it is that is making it do all that stuff, is the oil and grease in it. And that's going to be more stuff that, or toxins, more toxins that your body's going to have to deal with. And that'll be in the liver. The liver deals with the oil and grease-based toxins. So you're putting more stress on the liver when you having the dairy. And but this is why. And you always hear vegetables are good. Well, you know, that's right. They're easy to digest. They break down very easily. You chew them. It's easy to get the nutrients out of vegetables. So and you know, that's why people say to have that. You know, so vegetables digest, break down good. And so now as it's working its way down the intestine, it gets into the colon. And once it gets into the colon, then that's when there's nothing in the way of nutritional value. There is no nutritional value left by the time it gets to the colon. But now the colon's job is to pull the water out. You need the water to break everything down so you can get the nutrients. Now it's time for the colon to pull that water out. And it'll pull the water out and leave you with the waste. And when you go poop and your waste comes out hard, you don't have enough water. And that's not a good thing. Your waste should be coming out in the texture of toothpaste or peanut butter. That kind of texture is the way it should be coming out. And you shouldn't have to stress and strain and make it come out. It should come out. And if it's lubricated properly with water and all that stuff, then it will. Okay, if you don't have all the proper ingredients by the time it gets down to the intestines, In other words, you don't have all the bile, the pancreas done its work, you know, and if everything didn't work out right, by the time it gets down to your colon, you're going to have problems. And when that happens, you have digestion problems. And all this, I can find all this when I do the Hoi Chi. The Hoi Chi shows me all this stuff, and I can prove it to you, and I do. I prove it to my clients because it causes some discomfort. And you might think you don't have any discomfort, but when I'll find it, and if it's there. If it's not there, well then you're functioning properly. Anytime you have discomfort in the way of pain in the body, it's because you have inflammation. It's swollen, and your intestines will swell. But really, where it first comes, it'll be in your colon. Your colon will start swelling, and it'll be discomfort. And we find that in all the different organs of the body. And I find it, and I explain to you why and how it's like that. So, in other words, the colon and the digestive system is where a lot of the toxins come in. Now, the colon and the intestines are all wrinkly. It's all wrinkly. Everything comes out like that. So what happens, your poop comes from in the center part of your intestine or colon. And on the sides, it's stuck up in the cracks. And that's where the toxin, and it's food stuff stays there. And in months and years, sometimes this stuff is in there for years, and it's toxins, and it's putting out toxins into your blood. So that's how it gets, the toxins come from your intestines or your digestion into your system, comes through there. And I do cupping, and cupping is another thing. You can see it in the on YouTube, they've got stuff, but I do that, and I show you how to do it, because you can put the cupping on there, and as you put the cups on there, it moves it, and as it moves it, it breaks it loose, and you will see your poop will come out in different colors. It'll have stripes and spots and stuff like that, and that is all of the particles that have been in there for many long time, and so they'll be all coming out in your poop. So that's why digestion is where a lot of your toxins come in. So less toxins coming in, make it you're going to be a whole lot healthier. Now the next thing is more toxins coming out. So it's in a good diet. You have to watch your diet, and you can cheat on it every once in a while. I do it once a week. I try to get something, whatever I want, you know. But like I say, other than that, I try to take care of myself with a good diet. And we talk about all this when we do the treatment. Okay, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com.